Good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Shiv Nadar Foundation Conversations. My name is Anubha Bali from the Shiv Nadar University. I will be your host today. As the world faces unprecedented challenges today amongst the COVID-19 outbreak, majority of us are dealing with something that we've never experienced before. We have absolutely limited or no mobility at all. On top of this, we are getting inundated and bombarded with information on the pandemic, which is unnerving all of us. Therefore, the Shiv Nadar Foundation Conversations was created as a platform to bring everybody, like you and me, inspiring stories of leaders from across various fields. We will be bringing to you artists, sports people, diplomats, Nobel laureates, actors, many through this series that we bring to you. As our own constituents, our students, our faculty, the parents, our alumni spread all over the world, our partners are bracing the current situation in their houses. We felt that it is very, very imperative that we take some of these unique voices to them at their home directly, okay, like all of you who've tuned in today. We do hope that these conversations inspire you and uplift you in this absolutely difficult times of isolation. Today, we are particularly happy to feature Adil Hussain, an internationally recognized award-winning actor known for his critically acclaimed performances in award-winning movies like Life of Pi, Subhashish Bhuchayani's Mukti Bhavan, Iram Haq's What Will People Say, Danis Stanovik's Tigers, Meera Nair's The Reluctant Fundamentalist, Pan Nalan's Angry Indian Goddess, and the list goes on and on. For his lead role in Mukti Bhavan and Majrat Ketki, he received the National Award. In fact, for Mukti Bhavan, he has received more than 25 international awards. He has also received the Cannon Prison Award in Norway for the Best Supporting Actor for his work in What Will People Say. Besides being, but before he joined the films and he became this international star, he had already established himself in the world of theatre, and that too internationally. In fact, for his role in Othello as Othello, the Scotsman newspaper wrote, Adil Hussein's performance in Othello is bar none, the best acting I've seen in any Shakespeare play, including Peter Brook's The Tempest. So with that, Adil, a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us today. May we have Adil, please? Hi, Adil. A very warm welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me and having me over here. Thank you.
Adil, let me start by saying, and this is somebody who specially asked me to wish you, follow me, Shubho Rongali Bihu to you, especially as you're celebrating today and everybody around the world. Happy New Year.
Rongali Bihu to you too. And Baisakhi and Vishu and all that.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you.
course. All over the country, we are celebrating in some form. So, Adil, all of us around the world have come to us, absolutely stop. How are you coping with all this?
Good question. Well, I have a habit of being in isolation, not because of anything else, but it's by choice. I had lived on a river island for almost 3.5 years, 2.5 years at a stretch, and 1 year at a stretch without electricity and running water. In Karnataka, on the river Tungabhadra.
Okay.
And yeah, we lived there with very, very minimal, resources in terms of food and money. We lived, I remember living there for 440 rupees a month and learned, yeah, and learned to be really frugal. And it is, I think, it gave me an experience of a fearlessness toward, like, oh my God, what will happen to me if I don't have money? And the purpose of living there was very different. In the process of the conversation, if anybody is interested, I'm more than happy to share my experiences and all that. So this lockdown, COVID-19, enforced this lockdown, and I'm very, very fine with the help of the practices also that I do, which is related to my spirit. And my mentor, we go through our energy work and popularly known as meditation and physical practices. So I'm doing fine. I'm busier than before. It seems like I wake up in the morning and as a full schedule breakfast. I'm the chef of the house, and
Okay.
watering the plant and trying to cope with the orders of our 10-year-old son. I want
Okay.
pasta, so pasta. I stopped buying pasta. I'm making
Okay.
from the scratch the dough, the pizza dough, and all that. So
Okay.
from in the house, so
Okay.
it's a full-time job. So I have no time to worry or think about something else. I'm pretty busy.
It's so nice to hear a big star like you talk about, cooking and, doing all the household things in these times, like the rest of us, we are managing our work homes and everything. Okay. We'll of course come to the time when you actually stayed on that island, many of in our audience would want to hear that. But before that little jog of your memory, we have young students here, we have
Sure,
people in the
sure.
university, students here. We wanted to start right from the beginning. We know that you were born in Kuala and you studied in school there, and then you moved on to Assam. Let's start when you were a little in school. How were you? What kind of a student were you? And
I
how was life
was
there?
very. I was the naughtiest, and I don't think I should talk about it because people should not get inspired by my naughtiness. But in my mischievousness and naughty activities that I used to do, there was a sense of purpose. There was a sense of discipline in that as well. Like I was very, very interested in acting. And I don't know, am I still alive? I can't see my
Yes, you are. You are.
audience.
Okay,
Okay,
you are
I
live.
can't see you by the way, but doesn't matter. So I was constantly busy with. I was introduced to theater at the age of 8.5 when I was in class
You
one.
did your first play in class one, I heard.
Yes, that was the first introduction to proper theater. But before that, I was very, very inspired by these two stand-up comedian who used to come and perform during this month, Bihu. So
Okay.
Bihu in Assam is celebrated in a very, very big way. So each and every neighborhood have their own makeshift stages and cultural variety performances. So these two comedians, they used to come and perform every year almost, and they would imitate all these Bollywood big stars. Those days, Bachchan Sahab and Dharmender and Ajit and all that. So I used to come back home and gather my neighborhood friend, and I would, imitate them. So from there onwards,
Okay.
I got interested in acting, and so I continued to do theater every year school performances, and then I came to high school, so continued till the college. And by the time I was 13 or 14, I guess I somehow felt, I most probably could not have articulated then, but I somehow felt that I want to act and I want to, I'm in love with acting and I would like to keep acting.
And
And of course,
when you
the
were 13, you were
Bollywood
very
star,
sure. Okay.
sorry, Anubha.
I said at the age of 13, you decided that this is what you want to do
I
in
would
life.
say that, yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay, okay.
I didn't know anything else to do. I just felt uh, studies took a backseat, but I was a good student. I was the first boy in the class, and my father was very angry because, I wasn't studying very well, but still I got the first div, and in my matriculation I got second division. So my father was angry. You haven't studied. You just studied very little. Why you would have? If you would have studied a little more, I could have gotten first div, and So it went on. So yeah. So since then,
But you came from a really regular, non-filmy family, right? And there was no connection of films in your family, and your father was, I think, teaching. Was a teacher himself. So,
yeah.
what was your parents before the 13, 14, 15-year-old who was struggling? I want to become this, I want to become that, and the parents want to take them in a different direction. What was your family's reaction?
My mother was absolutely fine. She was in love with me too much. I mean, she still is. She's 90 years old. And, but my father, my father was very worried. And of course, the reason of worry is that, nobody from that town, or forget about town even, from that state had, apart from very few actors, those who were Assamese film actors, nobody had taken this seriously. And so forget about going to do national films like Hindi films and all that. A guy from Gwalpara, where newspaper used to come 3 days after it is published. So a guy from there. So my father was worried this guy is going to die of hunger. What would he do in his life? He has to
True,
come
that's
back home and he had to feed me. So those were his worries. And so he was tremendously against. He tried his best to stop me from, so he stopped talking to me. And I understood his concern, but I was a rebel and I
okay.
continued doing my all Assam play act, one act play competitions. And then after I finished my 10+2, I I got a good grade. So I told my dad, he was in good mood. So I said, I want to study, do my graduation in Guwahati. So my prime intention was to go there and join the film industry, but not to graduate. But I, enrolled
I can
enrolled
imagine
myself in. Sorry,
most
Anubha, tell
parents
me.
listening on this call, most parents watching you talk right now would be thinking, "Let my child be. Let my child be. Maybe he's going to become
I
Adil,
hope
another
so.
Adil."
I hope so.
But Adil, from there, because we want to cover so much, when you were
Yeah,
sure at 13, then you went to Guwahati, I know, and you continued your learning, and then you
yeah,
from there you actually took admission and you got a seat at NSD, and then you continued your craft
yeah.
engagement and training and learning. How was that? What was that? How did you manage to reach NSD?
In a nutshell, if I say that, I realized that there was this one actor in Assam called Topam Das, and I used to love him when he was on screen and also on the stage. He was a stage actor as well. And I started doing theater and I started doing films in Assam before I joined NSD. And when he's on the screen with another or two more actors, but my eyes would go to him, not because, of course, he was very handsome, but not because that he was handsome, but something in him attracted me to look at him. So I asked him that, what do you do that sort of keeps me, glued to you and not to the other actor? So he then understood that I am sincerely asking that question. So he invited me home and he spoke of the great, you know, father of modern acting, Konstantin Stanislavski and Jerzy Grotowski and other acting Methodists. Then I was like, oh my God, you can also learn acting. Then he talked about National School of Drama. And I was like, oh, there's a school where you can learn acting. I mean, it was
Yeah,
beyond my imagination that there would be a school which is in national level
of course.
that they would teach you acting. So once I
Right.
heard about that, I was like, there I go. And I learned that we don't need money to study there because you get a seat, you get a scholarship.
Yes, scholarship.
So thank God for those. I mean, still it is like that, thankfully. And I
Right.
hope the government take every effort to keep it that way so that
Right.
people like me who could not have afford, to come to study there, and so many other people like me from across the country. So that was the time that I sort of decided to join, and I joined, and thank God I got through the tough exam. They only take 20 students a year, and I joined NSD. Yeah.
Wow. So, we are getting a lot of questions, Adil, on various movies. But
Please
before
do.
I even go there, you've mentioned in many of your interviews the role teachers have played in your life. And, we run so many institutions, and there are many teachers who are listening to you. And you have spoken
Right.
so many times about teachers. Do talk a little bit about the role of teachers.
I don't think I play the role of a teacher. I think in the creative field, it is very
No, I
difficult
mean the role
to teach.
teachers have played. Adil, the role teachers have played in your life.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oh my God, it's immense. And I think that anything or everything that I know about life or acting, it's due to my great teachers. And I had teachers from different parts of the country and across the globe. But I'm indebted to one teacher that he had he has forbidden me to take his name. He wants to be anonymous. I can tell him where he lives in Pondicherry, but he says, "Don't take my name out." So, and another teacher who actually initially took me into under his wings and taught me most of the things that I uh, biologically, physically know, and that his name is Khalid Tayeb, and he is the most low-profile actors in the country and one of the finest that I know in the country. Theater actor. He acted in 2 films so far, and
Okay.
his name is Khalid Tayeb, and he's a theater actor and a pure theater actor. His techniques are amazing, and he taught me for years. And then I had Arjun Raina, who lives in Sydney now. I had Maya Rao, then Anamika Haksar, Robin Das, Niva Joshi. So all these teachers who sort of took me by hand and taught me to the point that I did not even know the word, what this word meant, aesthetics or aesthetic. I
Oh,
didn't know that word
okay.
when I joined it. And from there to make me fall in love with the sense of the study of aesthetics in the world of art and introduced me right from the ancient art to modern renaissance and modern art to postmodern to impressionism and
Okay.
expressionism and
Okay.
all that and its relationship with life and acting, the history of literature, the ancient
Okay.
literature, modern
Okay.
literature, the history of theatre. So all these people that I am so grateful to.
So, I'm really getting a lot of questions, but I wanted to come back to a particular incident in your life from a
Before
teacher.
you go, I must mention another teacher who I'm very grateful, who is an English woman, lives in England, in Wales now. Her name is Sue Weston, and she introduced me to the gentleness of the physical application of the body in acting. So yeah, sorry.
Okay, great. So we'll take the first question, Lavnish Tripathi. He says he's a great admirer of your acting, especially in Delhi Crime and the grip of the English language. Whilst I know you speak or you've acted in 9 different language movies, right from Norwegian
Mhm.
to Assamese,
Yeah.
Bengali, etc., and even Tamil. So he's asking you for a tip. How do you have a grip over so many languages, and how do you speak yourself in that way?
I think for anything to do with sound, see, language is nothing but. I'm not simplifying. I'm not a reductionist, but just hear me out. Is nothing but sounds coming out from your body and obstructed by tongue and lips and teeth. And of course, the entire cultural and anthropological background of that particular climatic condition of the people, which created that particular way of making the sound. So each sound, when it is formed by the consonants and vowels, it creates a different kind of sound which belongs to that group of language. So that means that your ears are the most important instrument, and the ability and the curiosity to be intently listening to the sounds and the meaning of the words are generally, according to my understanding and experience, not only intellectual understanding, but my experience, the meaning of the sound words are in the sound of the word. And if you can feel the vibration of the consonants and vowels, then you will feel the meaning. Not necessarily know, you would not know, not necessarily would know the specific meaning, but you will feel the meaning, you will understand. It's an experiential understanding. So coming back to it, so it's a very, very important to listen well, to learn how to listen. And there are a lot of hundreds of exercises in order to do
Okay. So we'll take one more question from Syed Sarush. The role where audience loved you and also you didn't recognize you when they saw you in person? Did you have a role like that, that you were so perfect that they loved you on the television or on the big screen, but they didn't actually recognize you?
it. It happened quite a few times actually, and
Okay.
those are the best moments. I'll tell you three incidences quickly. I know we have limited time, but so I was in Dubai Film Festival and I was watching Life of Pi, and on my right hand side, a British director, I forgot his name, he was getting his Lifetime Achievement Award, and we saw the film. It was Life of Pi, came out, and he asked me, "So why are you here?" I said, I realized that he did not recognize me, that I'm in the film. So I
Wow.
just wanted to play. I wanted to play along. I said, "Oh no, I have a film." Which film? I said, "It's called Life of Pi." Oh, Life of Pi, is it? So are you in the production? Are you, are you? I said, "No, I acted in that film." You
Okay.
acted?
Okay.
Oh, you are the father. You are the father. Yeah. Oh my God. So that's my first experience. And there are quite a
Okay.
few more and very, very funny
Wow.
incidents. But let's
Wow.
go to the next
Okay.
question if
Thank
you
you for
have
sharing
questions.
that. We're getting a lot of questions about Mukti Bhavan. Obviously, you won so many awards.
Yeah.
And for this interview, of course, I refreshed my memory of Mukti Bhavan. I don't know about you. Of course, you would have gone through so many emotions. It was such a cathartic movie for me. Tell us your experiences about Mukti Bhavan, especially.
It's a very, very, very special and very close to my heart, this film, because I think it has something so deep and so gentle and yet very, very funny. This combination is very difficult to see in
Very
one
good.
film. It's something that which is funny, witty, and yet it touches you deeply. It talks about life and its meaning, and on the face of death, it talks about life. On the face of life, it talks about death, and written by a 23-year-old
Imagine that.
director, writer. He was
Absolutely.
23 when he wrote it. He was 24 when he directed the film, and I was completely because I relate to this relationship with my dad, and also my search for my search my quest to understand about death a lot since 1995 till mid 2000. I was reading almost every book possible which is related to who has sort of which has
Okay.
described or sort of somehow enlightened me with the understanding of death from different cultures, from Japan to India to shamanism and Celtic
Okay.
and the Celtic or whatever way you call it. So I had my answers. So it was not like I'm rediscovering. But when I went to Banaras, and especially when I was walking through those, you know, pyres, funeral pyres, it sort of touched me deeply, and I was like, oh my God, there it is. This is the end, and this is what we have to go to, whether we want or we don't want. So it's better, since the time we are born, we don't know when we would die, but we must die. So any intelligent person with little bit of intelligence would prepare for death without remorse, because that is inevitable. So that
No.
I had the intellectual understanding, but it sort of made me feel like, okay, this is a truth that I must accept
Okay.
wholeheartedly and with
Wow, what a
all my
beautiful
being.
movie. What a beautiful movie you brought to us. So we have a question from Pushkar. What is that one quality, attribute needed specific to the craft and art of acting, apart from passion and hard work, to be Adil Hussain, an internationally recognized actor?
No, come again. I didn't understand the question.
So what is
What is
so
it?
Pushkar asks, what is that one key quality or an attribute which you need specific to the craft or the art of acting, apart from passion and
Yeah.
hard work?
Another one. Love. I
Ah,
think,
love. Okay. Okay.
yeah, I think It has to be. Passion is something which comes out. It's a consequence of your love for the thing that you become passionate about. So it is important for all actors, if any of the audience members are want to pursue acting, it's very important to find out, do you really love it? Would you act for next 10 years without getting paid and recognized? Would you do that? It is important. Even if you cannot imagine, put yourself in a situation where you will not be paid and you will not be recognized that you're an actor. Would you still act? And then I would say that then it is meant for you. But if you're looking for recognition and fame and money, nothing wrong about it, but you may not get it also. But if you love acting, you would anyway be happy because you love it and you are doing what you do with little bit of resources to just to live by and get by. You'll be happy because you're doing what you're doing. But if you're looking for fame and name, then God bless you, and all the luck in the world. If you are lucky, you will get it. You may not get it. Then how do you deal with that?
So, Adil, on this, I want to, remind you and connect this Pushkar's question and your answer on love. When you came back from London, you had already, trained at NSD, you'd already trained in London. You went back to your first teacher, and I read in an interview that he gave you a challenge. He asked you to earn rupees 1 lakh and a motorbike, and he gave you a test for it. And how did you achieve it? That 1 year's journey, that'll explain to our audience the amount of love and passion you had for the craft. Tell us very quickly about
Right.
that.
So yeah, it was like I came back from London and I realized that I know nothing about acting. It's like I'm not even in the middle of the sea. I'm like on this side of the shore. So I saw this performance by Khalid Tayyib, who I named initially, and I was blown by his performance. And when I saw his performance, I realized that I have to be an actor who can perform like this man, Khalid. So I went up to him. He said, "Great, I would like to work with you also because you already taught me in NSD for 6 months, in my first year, the first semester." And he said, "Yes, but I would like you to have 1 lakh of, 1 lakh rupees, not to pay me," he said, "but to look after yourself because I can't teach you and pay you also." So I was like, "Oh, okay." And I had 100 rupees in my pocket, so I didn't know how to earn that money. And then, as I said, that if there is a will, there is a way. If you love something, and if you have the will to do something for your love, then you find a way. So I thought about all sorts of things. There was nobody that I can borrow that money from. Then I realized, oh, I have this Assamese commercial theater. And I joined Assamese commercial theater, and we had a deal of 160,000 rupees that I have to perform every evening for 9 months. And the plays not necessarily would be of my liking. So I performed for 9 months every evening and every fourth day in another place, another town or a village. And I saved the money, came back, and he was specific about to have a motorbike, an Enfield. And then I joined him for 2 years, and I went
Wow.
for a motorcycle ride for 2 years. And he introduced me
So
to
your
the
teacher
landscape of India.
gave you the challenge of you to reach there. So your teacher contributed
Sorry,
to
come
that.
again.
That special person we see today as Adil has come from that teacher. Wow. Okay. So
He
Adil,
did.
I'm moving on to Rahul's question. How do you get into the character, sir? He's asking you. It's so real when you act and show anything. So he loves your realistic cinema, of course. That's
I mean, I
Rahul.
wish that yeah, Rahul, good question. And I wish that I had all the time to explain it to you. An explanation quite often in words. As I said, the words are very limited way of expressing yourself, unless you're Shakespeare or Tagore or Kalidas. People do misunderstand words. And according to our um cultural understanding, that words are the worst form of communication. Vaikhari. The highest form of communication is Paravani, which is in silence. And then, so it is an energetic transmission that you understand more. So the silence speaks more than words. That's how I guess it has come about. But since we are communicating through words, so I'm very careful about what I say. Characterization is nothing to do with your putting on weight. You may, but that is very cosmetic, or growing a mustache, or growing your hair long, which is good, which is okay, but it's very, very superficial. Characterization is when you can update your software. Your inner being is gently tilted towards the character that you're playing. How do you do that? It is a lifelong practice. First of all, that you have to, uh, it is impossible, but quite an extent it is possible, that you have to first recognize your own habits, conditioning, your idiosyncrasies, your mannerisms, to be able to get out of that and come to a neutral state of your physical, emotional, and mental state. Your emotional reactive attitude has to be recognized, seen, recognized, investigated, and come to a state of emotional stability so that you can travel from there towards the character that you are playing. If some traits of the character is similar to you, you are lucky. But if you are not, if you get a character which is completely different than you, then it's harder work, because then slowly you have to get rid of your judgment, your idea of right and wrong, your idea of moralities, your idea of everything. You have to put it aside and then become completely empathetic, wholesomely empathetic to play Hitler. You have to love Hitler in order to play Hitler. No judgment, not even single iota of judgment. It's a lifetime job, but it is the possibility.
Sure. And we saw that, so much in display when you played that father in the Norwegian movie. What will people say? And the last few seconds of empathy which come on your face was absolutely a treat to watch. And I'll move on to Sangeeta Roy. What is your dream role, and who would you really love to play? And it also reminds me of one question I want to ask you. From the last so many decades, which Bollywood character would you love to play?
Which Hollywood character?
No, Bollywood character. Which commercial Bollywood character would you have loved to play? And of course, Sangeeta is asking, what is your dream role?
Well, what is my dream role is different than the second question that you added. My dream role is to
Okay.
play Krishna
Oh,
in its
okay.
most human form, and it yet it is believable. If Krishna was born as a human being, though his divine presence was constantly there, but he accepted all the consequences of all his actions, including Gandhari's Abhishap, curse, and he sort of submitted himself, in spite of he could have negated everything, submitted himself into sort of this limited human form and took all consequences of his actions, and yet maintained the largest of his heart and mind. If I can do that ever, that is my dream role. And in terms of Bollywood film, I would not mind playing this character, which it's not a Bollywood film then. It was, long back. Balraj Shahani walked. I love this actor, and I think he was the finest actor on the Indian screen ever. His grace and his subtle ways of performing uh, is amazing. So
Wow.
that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we have now many, many questions coming in, and we have hundreds of people who've joined us from all over. So Jay Parikh is asking you, which character is the most challenging for you in your journey, and how have you prepared? So, which was your toughest role?
Wow. Yeah. On in cinema, yes, my toughest one was a film called Sunrise. It was on Netflix till a few weeks ago. I think they have run out of the contract, so it's not there. But somehow I'm sure you can find it. It is a role of a father who is also a police officer, whose daughter was kidnapped when the daughter was 10 years old, 10 years ago, and he looks for his daughter every evening after his work, and he cannot find her. His wife, the mother of the daughter, my wife, has actually lost mental balance, and to come back home and deal with her, I had no idea how to do that, because the intensity of the pain that I am supposed to feel was the toughest thing, that I didn't know how to do it. And that was a good point to start, that to recognize that I had no idea how to do it, and things magically happened. And we did the film, and that was the first film. That was the second film that people did not recognize me. When we premiered it in South Korea, I was having, after the film screening, and there was this party every evening. There is a party in the festival, and so this Caucasian, I think, a European man who came and asked my director, told my director, "Oh, I love the film, and then but this actor who was in Life of Pi, you said, but just standing in front of him. He was in Life of Pi, but this I could not recognize him." So Partho, the director, said, "That's him." Looked at me. He said, "No, no, no, I'm talking the main actor." Partho says, "He's the main actor." So then he says, "Oh my God! Oh wow! How did so?" That was, I think. Then I realized that okay, something has happened. Something I didn't know how to do it, but so I don't take credit for it. It happened. So how can you take credit for something that you did not do it, but it happened through you? And then I realized that he was the reporter of the Hollywood Reporter, and another amazing review they gave me in the also of my performance and of the film in the Variety. So these are the two most important magazines, film review magazines in the world. So it was beautiful that was the toughest role that I've ever done so far.
I think that was a great question. So, of course, you have spoken about magic, and how you used to feel that you used to feel magic, early days as a child when you used to start acting. So, you achieved so much, Adil. So there's Ananda who wants to ask you. Obviously, he also feels the same. That Ananda Raman is asking, when can we expect a book written by Adil sir?
Actually, last 3 years, HarperCollins had been asking me, and they have commissioned someone also. But I just feel that I have to write it when I really feel like, because that's what I practice in acting and in life. That unless I truly feel like, some things you don't feel like doing it, you do. Like if you have to, water the plant, sometimes you don't feel like you do it. Sometimes you have to clean the house or mop the house, you don't feel like, but you do it. But when it comes to creative things like this, I follow that inner intense feeling that I have to do now. I have to write. And when till I don't feel like, I don't think I should venture into it. But one thing which is coming to my mind, that, oh yes, I would love to share all these that I have experienced in my life, which possibly could be useful for somebody else. If not interesting, it could be at least useful
Okay, great.
and
So,
interesting.
okay, so whilst we have lots of questions on theater, but I'll pick up two questions
Sure.
especially. There's Mukesh Kumar who's asking about, how do you see theater coming back in India? As do you see theater coming in days in India as Netflix or other apps? And I'll club the other question. Lalit Saraswat is asking, are you still associated with the theater? Do you think there is a connection between, which is a larger question, philosophy of life, emotions, tragedy, and theater at the core? Very
I
large
feel
question.
guilty when I hear these questions, because I had been away from theater for a long time, but still I had been doing one piece of work, which is, as I said, the Krishna role. So there is a play that I had been doing, but for very limited people, called Karmnishtha. This is a two-actor play. My mentor, my guide who plays Krishna, I play Arjuna. And it is now that I had been asked to play both the roles by myself, which is something that it's like a monumental job. So I am looking forward to that. And most probably I'm starting to work on it soon. Like maybe this lockdown had been sort of extended. So maybe this is the time for me. And I have to find a time slot between, being a chef and the father and watering plants and doing what I'm doing right now with you every evening with somebody. Um, in terms of theater coming back to India, I think theater is one craft that the governments, since the beginning of independence, I think had been ignored. It's the role that theater can play in society had been ignored, or it had not been. They haven't really fathomed the importance of the role that theater can play in order to make a society a better society. Because only in theater, where the expenditure of creating a piece of theater is minimal, that's why the commercial aspects of the theater can be sort of avoided. In films, it is very difficult because it's a very expensive medium. But theater, you can do almost with no money if you love it. So through theater, the complexities of life, the nuances of life, the gray shades of life, the empathy that the theater piece can create amongst the audience about two opposite views that we generally in today's world we see of fighting with each other. If you have a different idea of politics or society or anything, that we start abusing each other. It's happening across the globe. It's not only in India but across the globe. So I think theater is a place where we can learn how to be empathetic, how to appreciate an opposite point of view or multiple and billions points of view. This is important for government to understand and really fund theater. Necessarily, if take away the money which is meant for defense, buy one aircraft less, but spend the money on promoting theater and introduce it as a compulsory subject from the primary school, like mathematics and languages and physics and chemistry. That's what I think. And we are not doing it at all. So we are, in terms of in modern education, theater is in its infancy, according to my understanding.
Okay. Okay. So while we have so many questions, but we are coming to the last question now. So I'll club. I know many people want to know your interests, etc. And but one last question where you could cover a couple of things. You're truly a global Indian. We have students today, and we have young alumni today who have tuned in from all over the globe to watch you speak.
Right.
Everybody aspiring to be a global citizen, global Indian like you. So, what are some of the lessons, which you feel that advice to a young Indian who wants to make it big, whether it's meditation, whether it's picking up the other skills? We know that you are very great at, besides your own craft, you are also passionate about other things in life. So, what are the things which you feel people should do to reach your level, especially as a young Indian who's stepping out into the world?
I don't have a recipe for it, but I can only talk about the fundamental blocks of reaching out to more people. But that reaching out cannot be strategized. It has to happen organically. And as I said in the beginning, that do not cast yourself in the wrong role in life. If you truly feel that you want to be an engineer, then only go there. Don't, to the point, with all my apologies to all the parents, I am also one of the parents of our child. And I truly believe that if our child Kabir wants to be a carpenter, that I would be there wholeheartedly supporting him to become a carpenter or a gardener or a potter. I'm just saying that these are the things generally society looks down at. And if he wants to, be anything, But if that person does it wholeheartedly, and it's an inner calling, then there is no need to strategize your reaching out as a global person, as a global phenomenon. It will happen. It may take time, but it happens. I'm not talking from books. I'm talking from my own experience and so many other people that I know personally. Those are the ones that I respect the most. That they have really reached out towards their inner calling and responded towards their inner calling. And then finally, at a certain point of time, when the person is ripe, the inner is ripe, and people have plucked the fruits across the globe. It has happened to so many people, and all the people that I admire and I get inspired by. So that's the only thing I could tell.
Okay, okay. So on the last note, meditation is helping you cope up with these times before we wrap up and go.
Oh yes, I mean, I think without that, I started practicing. For the want of better word, it's meditation, but meditation could be of so many kinds and so many things. Uh, we also call it energy work because uh, it is proved by, of course, science much before that each and every thing is made of molecules and atoms in the body, biological body, the breath, the oxygen and the nitrogen, and everything. So the work on the energies of the self, I started in 2000, and I regularly had been doing it. Sometimes, of course, in so many ways that modern life had taken me away, but I'd always come back to it, and it has kept me alive and inspiring me and keeping my smile intact and stabilized me as a person in any kind of crisis. I'm sure that I'm nowhere near where I really want to reach in terms of in the inner search and inner journey, but of course, yes, it has been a
Okay, so
tool,
maybe,
a
okay.
survival tool for me.
Okay, so maybe that'll help all of us survive the next few weeks of absolutely great challenge which humanity is facing all over. With that, Adil, thank you so much. It has been truly a very inspiring and a very interesting conversation. I know we haven't been able to answer more than half of the questions which came pouring in, but everybody enjoyed. It was an absolutely thrilling session, and we learned so much from this beautiful journey that you've gone through. Thank you for the movies. Thank you for the great work that you do. It has been a true honor. Thank
Please,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
It is a
I want
pleasure
to
because
remind,
when I say and speak, it is for my reaffirmation, uh, what I say and what I believe in. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. Thank you, Anubha.
thank you so much. I want to remind our viewers that the conversation continues to be available on the Shiv Nadar Foundation's Facebook. So you can always come back and listen to what Adil had to say today. So with that, it's a wrap today. Thank you so much, Adil. Thank you, everybody who's logged in. Thank you.